I got you on video this time too. Last time I went back because whenever I have somebody like a returning guest come on, especially someone when it's not music where I'm just like talking about the next release they've done or whatever, I'll go back to listen to like, what we talked about, just make sure I don't like cover the same things over and over or whatever, which with news, it's pretty easy to not do that, unfortunately, right? Because there's so much hellhole things going on. I remembered one, especially now. One, I forgot that we did it where we didn't do video with you. And then the other thing was that we talked for several minutes about things going on with the Super Bowl, I think in 2024, which neither of us watched, which was good. That's how you know you're a peak podcaster, when you start having takes on things that you didn't watch, you didn't pay attention to, but you've got your take, right?
Wait, I think were we talking about, because I specifically remember Super Bowl 2024 for the singular reason that there were a lot of Taylor Swift's like devil conspiracy theories. Were we talking about that? Maybe how there's a lot of like online people like the devil is in Taylor, stuff like that.
There was that, but like the main thing we talked about was the amount of AI Jesus commercials. Do you remember of like washing people's feet?
Yeah,
like it was like this weird AI foot porn, but mixed with like Christian organizations. That's what we talked about for like 20 minutes of this like hour and 15-minute conversation, which is just really funny to go back and listen. Like sometimes I'll do that, not so much with mine, but like other people's podcasts, I'll go back and listen to like early episodes just because like, I don't know, it's interesting to think about where we were in say 2020 or something.
Yeah.
And you hear people talking about how bleak it was, and you're like, brother, man, we didn't know shit. We didn't know anything.
Little do you know just how bad it'll get.
Whenever you think you hit the floor, somebody just brings in a jackhammer and breaks the entire foundation. But all right, thank you for coming on. I'm here with June for the next episode of the Powerless Podcast. I should have pulled up my notes here. I'm a professional. Who is the host of who's a host of the Kill the Computer and Ill-Conceived podcast, formerly Western Kabuki. I wanted to ask you this too because you've been so irony with like journalist stuff with like the New York Times and things like that in the past. Do you actually contribute to the Onion?
So yeah, you're right. In the past, so I do in fact work for the Onion.
I thought so, but I was like Onion contributor, and I was like,
hey, so
she could be just fucking with me too.
And a lot of people still to this day, I'm gonna have been there for almost a year now. My year anniversary is next week. But of course, because I pretended to be a journalist at the New York Times, and then briefly at I probably did WAPO very briefly. But so I when I got hired, I was talking to Ben Collins. I was like, yeah, is it like cool if I pretend like I change my profile theme on socials to like mirror my old bits and not be super clear? Like and he was like, yeah, go for it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just see what people think. I wanted to see if people figured it out. But so I don't write, but I do social media management and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes, I mean, you're clearly good at that, so that works out well.
I try.
So that was just like a funny thing. Again, when I was trying to get this down, it's like, it's so like, everything from the Snickers dick vein thing to the goblin mode to everything else. It's like June is so good at like curating like fake news that I don't even know what's real with what you do. So it's good to know that you actually do that.
Yeah.
But happy to have you on. What I thought we would do today, obviously I want to talk a little bit about music with you. We switched from doing this from yesterday to today because you went to a show that like, as soon as you sent me that, everyone I knew from like the East Coast to the West Coast was talking about that show. So it was like clearly like, I was like, this is weird that like I'm seeing people share this a second, like you sent me that email, which is cool. And so we can talk a little bit about music on a brighter note, and then of course get into the wonderful ether that is, United States politics, which is it's going great. It's going good.
Now, one thing I am very sad about all the time is that, I do a lot of like I do 2 podcasts, and it's really hard it's almost impossible on Ill-Conceived specifically, because that's a very directed, like about natalism in the United States specifically. But even on Kill the Computer, we don't always get the opportunity to. But in one of the more recent episodes, Caleb and my co-host, talked about music for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I like need to talk about music. I love music. Like it's my actual, other than like following politics and like shit posting and just like follow it, like just different cultural things like that, like are related to like politics and learning shit. I don't know. My main hobby is music. That's like my true main love in life, and I don't do anything with it in my like online sphere.
Well, and I know that we talked a little bit about like the CCTV instruments, like last time we talked, if I remember right.
Yeah, I
We
still haven't
talked.
finished it. I
Yeah,
do
well,
have that.
I looked into that a little bit after we talked, and it's like, holy shit, this is like really in depth and really, really daunting to do. It's really cool,
Yeah.
but and like very, very niche, but like it takes a lot of talent and a lot of like, aside from musical talent, it takes a lot of like know-how electronically that like as someone who's attempted to like build their own guitar before and stuff, like I was like, that's above my pay grade. I cannot even figure that
Do you
out.
want to know why I haven't finished it?
Yeah, sure.
It's specifically because I'm dumb as shit when it comes to like electronics and like electrical engineering and all that shit.
That'll do
I got
it.
like wires. I got like these wires there, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no fucking clue where this goes. I have a breadboard. I don't know what this is. The wires I have to like solder. Is that how you say it? So it's been a huge process that I am hoping to actually finish by at least the end of the year, and maybe I can update you about that and
yeah, I would love to hear, because
yeah?
you know, I would literally love to like even like find a way to have you just show me a little demo of it or something, because like I'm fascinated. I'm totally in on that. But just you know, talk a little bit. You know, first of all, what band was your friend that was opening for this show? What band are they a part of?
So I had two friends actually open for. So it was Anamanaguchi. It was an Anamanaguchi show, which I'm sure you know Anamanaguchi. I have been a longtime fan since a couple of months before the Endless Fantasy release. I was like their day one. I was part of that Kickstarter. I got like some of the, I don't know where it is right now. I've been going through like all my clothes. So I have some of my clothes right there, but I have like one of the like Kickstarter original t-shirts from like 2014 or something like that. So it's been a while since I've seen them in concert, and I found like, so I saw they were coming, and then I found out about the show, not because I was like keeping track of them, but I met up with one of my friends a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, yeah, we're opening for Anamanaguchi, and I'm like, what the fuck? So I might have even talked about their band last time I was here, Thotcrime. They're a cyber grind.
Yeah. I'm familiar. I listened to them. They were at least like formerly one of your roommates, right? Is that
not roommates, but we briefly had a very short-lived podcast called Crate Diving.
Oh, that's what it was. Crate diving is what it was. Yeah.
It was 3 or 4 episodes. We just couldn't fit a schedule, especially because we live in different cities and we liked recording in person. But yeah, no, sadly, I love both of them in the band, Haley and Mel. But sadly, it's one of their last shows. They are retiring as a band to move on to new projects. They will be doing more music, but the Thotcrime project is basically over. I think they have one more show lined up, which I, of course, will be at that as well. So they were the first set, and then I don't know if you're familiar with this person, Coco Joey. Do you know Coco Joey?
No, I'm gonna look this up right now while you break it down for me here.
So Coco Joey is like, I don't even, it's so hard to describe Coco Joey because they're a very eclectic like musician, primarily like a keyboardist, and like crazy vocals, can like switch between screamo, like screaming, very extended long screaming, to very melodic, beautiful, like very trained voice, where it's like hitting notes that I don't even understand how they are able to do that. It's like some high, like real high register shit, and it's like this crazy piano. It's like very poppy. It's like it's a mix of a lot of different genres. But so for a long time, it's just been themselves, just Coco Joey. This was their first show where they added a drummer to a live set, and it was incredible. It might have been like, I was smiling, and I've seen Coco Joey play dozens of times, maybe not dozens, but a lot. They're a Chicago local, so I see Coco Joey around all the time. I don't know, I can't explain just the way I was feeling watching Coco Joey play this set. There was like a solid 5 minutes where I was just smiling. I was like, this is like a legendary set. It was legendary. If for people listening, for you, if Coco Joey is playing a show near you, please, I beg of you, it will change your life. Watching a Coco Joey set will change your life. And I am like, after seeing this set, and I've always wanted a lot for Coco Joey, like in terms of, I think they are a fantastic performer, musician, and deserve a lot more widespread notoriety than they do. But I don't know. There's something about like adding the drums, the high energy. Oh, it's magical. It's a magical set.
Well, I'm stoked to check out the music. I just saved them here, and you know, them being from Chicago, as I think I told you before, I live just an hour west of Chicago myself.
That's
in
right.
Illinois.
Yeah.
So I have no excuse not to go check them out at some point. So with that said, I say this every time, but like I love getting homework when I do the show. And like that's what I liked about when I spoke with you last time when we talked a lot about music, is like you're tapped into some very great and very niche genres. Like I always think, I do this show, I talk to a lot of local bands. Like I just put out an episode today with a band out of New Jersey that's sort of like a post-hardcore emo vibe, put out a new song. They're called Wave Break. I highly recommend. They it's like their first, I would say it's like their first song where they also have like a second, their newest guitarist like doing secondary vocals, and he's kind of screaming in it, and they're kind of adding that element to it for the first time, doing a little bit of a breakdown in it.
Fuck yeah.
Female fronted. I hate like throwing that out there because I hate when people say that's like a genre, but you know what I mean? Like great, like vocalist Kelly that was on the show the other day, or at least today. I think what I'm saying is like I'm tapped into like that kind of thing, like the metalcore, the emo, the post-hardcore, the indie rock, the singer-songwriter, and then I'll talk to someone like you, and it's like, man, I don't know shit about the niche genres. Like I'm such a normie,
It goes even deeper than you can imagine. It goes even.
Well, that
deeper.
was the last time I was looking back, and I looked, and I should have saved it in here because I went back and looked at like the artist we were talking about the other day, and it was the CCTV instrument that you were talking about. You had me save it last time, and I remember it was like you had me save this album that I listened through a few times.
Oh, I remember that one. Yeah,
and it was like 84 monthly listeners on Spotify, but it was incredible. And I was like, how the fuck do you find this? You know what I mean?
Sometimes
is it Reddit pages? Is it like what? Where do you find this stuff at?
I'll be so honest, I don't even remember half the time. I'll find like a musician that has like that one I sent you. I'm blanking on the name of that one.
I'll have to see if I can find it here.
But it has like two slashes in it for the L's. It was like, you remember that, right? It was like something really goofy. I don't remember how I found that one.
Yeah, I'll put it on the screen for the recorded part when I find it and edit this in.
I think I found that one specifically because it's really, so for the CRT TV like guitar thingy.
Yeah, I keep saying CCTV. I'm an idiot. You are CRTV. Yeah.
But so I wanted to see, because there's very few guides on how to make that, but so not many people have made them. But I was like, somebody surely has to have made one and made music with it. And that's the only example of that I found. So I think I found it because it was like probably on a Reddit thread somewhere that was like, this person made some crazy shit with this. But yeah, that's like something I just do, is just like try to find like some of the weirdest, most niche music as I can, I guess, just because I think there's so much beautiful music just that so many people don't know about. I spent back in college, like I guess a decade ago now, Jesus Christ. I spent so many days on the SoundCloud mines trying to find like some like obscure weird shit, and I off the top of my head I couldn't name you anything of that era right now. But if I open up my old SoundCloud, I could surely find some like oh my, like I don't even fucking know what I would find in there. But there's just so much music that people make that I wish, and of course it's like this for any sort of creative hobby. Not everyone will give every musician or artist their flowers in their time for what they created, but there's so much out there, and I just feel like so many people, and I'm gonna talk about the normies. No one's curious. No one is like curious to dig a little deeper, It's very easy to just like, okay, I'm going through my Spotify algorithm, I'm just gonna listen to, which I do, let me be clear.
Yeah.
But I like digging a little deeper with music.
Yeah, that's what I've liked when I've done this show. And again, like I said, I don't think I think, but again, this is like a more quote unquote mainstream or successful artist in that vein of electronic heavy music of a band like Blind Equation that I've had on here before, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that's like,
you've talked to him. Hell yeah.
Yeah. It was James like the episode awesome. Before I talked to you, it turned out, or something like that. Yeah. Oh yeah, James is incredible. I need to get James back on here, but like that's what I enjoy about doing this is, someone who played shows for so long, played in so many different projects, did so many different things, and then like COVID hit and I haven't played a show really since then.
Yeah.
It's just fun to that's what used to get me to check out new bands. It's like I'd play with them, whether it was in a different city or state or like right here in Illinois where a lot of people come through. You would end up getting exposed to different stuff, or like I remember, same thing, I can't remember the name, but I remember playing like a local show in a basement of a house I used to live in DeKalb here, and it was like one person like yelling into a microphone, and the other person playing like an extremely loud a semitone going up and down chaotic like like organ style sound, and yet at the same time it was totally cool and it was awesome, and you're like, this is weird. I don't even know if I know what this is, but like I'm intrigued that somebody thought to make this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Whenever I post like videos I take at concerts, just because I sometimes I'm like, I want to use my platform to like spread some bands that I really like seeing to people that might not know about these people. I posted a clip of Coco Joey from the other night, and someone in the replies was like, queer trans people make the craziest shit. They're like, just it's one of those things that's like, what the hell is happening? And you just have to experience it. I don't know, you have to experience it to understand.
Or that was like kind of in the vein of Blind Equation. I had on somebody a while back. I got to get them back on again because they put out music so often. But Ultra Deluxe, which I'm sure you've heard of.
Yep.
Yeah, see, I name these things, and you're like, yeah, I know who that is. But like same kind of thing where like I talked to them and just like about like this vast universe being built with their music and like this all this kind of crazy stuff and like the music in and of itself is good, and then you talk to somebody about like these narratives they're able to build in this like crazy chaotic music of like different sci-fi, like Star Trek ass shit, but even trippier, and it's like, man, I can barely like write a breakdown and yell over it. Like, I don't know how you do this. Like, how do you write a novel, like over Cybergrind? But like, it's so interesting and so cool that people have like this creative force that like, I would long to have.
I've always really loved musicians who sing or sort of speak narratively. I think that's why I've always really liked bands like The Hold Steady, Mountain Goats, of course. Lou Reed is sort of in that vein as well. Have you ever listened to the folk punk band Taxpayers? The Taxpayers?
Yeah, I'm familiar. I'd have to look up here some songs.
They're just like another one of like the most prime examples in my mind of like a band that they put out specifically one of their albums. It's like a whole like a narrative album. Like everything is like a story. I think their most iconic one. I'm going to try to find it really quick.
Is it their album? Here, I had it here. Is it God Forgive These Bastards? Is it that
Bastard
one?
Hands of Mine, I believe. Yeah, God Forgive These Bastard Hands of Mine. Great, wonderful album if you've never listened to it. It's like a beautiful, very sad story about this like I don't even know if I could just properly describe it. Just like a man in like, it's like about baseball. It's about this Southern, I don't know. Just go listen to it. It's really fucking good.
Yeah.
But no, I've always loved like very narrative driven writers, and especially songwriters, especially if they talk. When they just like talk a little bit, I'm like, ooh, you don't even need to have a voice. Just speak to me. Yeah.
Speak to me over like some interesting music or whatever. Yeah. I know there's always like a little, it's like, again, I'm going to be a normie here, but we've already established that's the case. It's like why I loved, before I was even into kind of more niche or like alternative genres, when I was more into like, going to see shows that you would see at the Rave or Congress Theater when it was open in Chicago or whatever else. And I first got into La Dispute and then you know what I mean? And like, I know again, polarizing band for a lot of people, but for me it was like I heard King Park from them for the first time and I was like, this broke my brain. Like I like now need to check out people yelling over music and talking about like and like giving an entire story for 10 minutes over a song because I actually enjoy this more than like a 3-minute like catchy hook, you know what I mean, catchy hook type song. There's something about that, like everyone has their different art. Like a lot of times for me I'll find like a prog metal band. Like there was a Finnish one called Wheel, ironically, like people thought they were a ripoff from Tool based on that, but they're actually their own thing. And like, they'd have like 14, 15-minute long songs that are like these narrative interwoven things. And like the guy, of course, has a beautiful voice that sings in it. But like there's like something about it between the polyrhythms and the narratives and all that just like scratches like your frontal lobe in a way that like conventional music doesn't, you know what I'm saying? To where like I don't know that I could get the same feel from like some of my favorite chorus verse chorus bridge ender bands that I love, and like people should appreciate that kind of structure, but like there's something about the weird that you just like it does something to your brain that other things just cannot do. It opens up like a different part of your brain.
One thing that everyone really loves is actively thinking about the music they're listening to all the time and having like very deep, thoughtful moments. That's that's what I like to do. I don't think the average person certainly doesn't always like to do that, but there's moments for different type of music. I still throw on lo-fi hip hop to study to or whatever if I'm like, don't want to think too much. But I know what you mean though. Yeah, I like a cerebral experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it like touches the part of my brain that like we use when we were like cavemen or something. Like I don't quite know how to describe it, but I guess like a knuckle dragging breakdown can do the same thing. But like I just there's like certain things like cerebral's a good way to put it that like I don't know, it just has you have this feeling that you don't get anywhere else when it comes to art, or it's kind of like movies for me too, right? Like we're getting into like the Halloween time, and like for me, like my favorite horror movies are not like, I mean, it's the same thing. Like I love big slasher movies. The Halloween series is one of my favorite series of all times, but then you'll watch like some indie horror movie where it's the bleakest, weirdest shit you've ever seen, and it gives you this feeling that like I can't even describe, but you're like, I want to feel this more often even though it feels terrible.
Yeah. Like I want to consider my entire existence for at least 2 hours. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was on, because people have been talking about that movie. I haven't seen it yet. The movie Weapons a lot right now.
Oh, I really liked Weapons. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Okay, I didn't get to see it, so I don't want to hear any spoilers, right? But like, I loved the same guy that made Barbarian, right? Which I really, really liked.
I like that one a lot too. Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody else that had been on the show before recently, and I was like, oh yeah, you should check out this movie. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. This indie horror movie, Possum. If you're into like feeling like bleak, dread. Have you ever heard of the movie Possum before? It's on Prime if you have Prime still, or like it's all on all the different indie things. But it's literally like just the saddest, most minimal, bleak movie of this guy carrying around like this weird arachnid doll, and I can't. It just sounds like the weirdest thing I'm describing, but this guy's dealing with like his own psychosis through this doll, and it's like. I watched it and I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to watch this again in my entire life. But whenever I think of like the movie that made me feel the bleakest, I will think of this movie for all time. Right. And yet at the same time, you're saying that, and you're saying that as a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, it is. It always is.
It's kind of like the through line.
I've never regretted watching like a horrifying movie or anything like that. It's always like, that was fucked, and I don't like that was great at the same time,
Yeah, because it was well made and it made you feel something you didn't even know you could feel before, right? Like that's in a way, not to compare all the music we're talking about to what I just said with a horror movie, but like it's that same kind of thing where like you just kind of experience things in a way you don't think of you experiencing things. I think that's kind of like where art can push things in those kind of niche ways, right?
Absolutely.
Well, so we've already talked about. I mean, we're already like 23 minutes in for this sequitur or for this intro. So that was good. That was some good banter on some good. Is there anything else you've been listening to lately? You kind of want to give a shout out to before we go into the bleakness of the world here?
So definitely, I shouted out all the homies already: Coco, Joey, Blind Equation, all of them. But the things I've been like really digging into recently, I've been trying to listen to some like specifically. I feel like I've been digging into like early shoegaze a lot recently. So I've been listening to, I think it's shoegaze, but just a very specific kind of music. I've been listening
to Deftones.
I have actually. No, that's not shoegaze. That's not shoegaze. Is that shoegaze? Is that I don't know if that's shoegaze.
No, people made a joke back in like their OG days that they would like flirt with like shoegaze style guitar and stuff like that. But no, it's a joke. I'm just joking. Yeah.
But it's funny because I actually have been like unrelated to what I was just about to say. I was listening to Deftones earlier today, but the one band that I do want to shout out because this was fairly new to me, and it's a band from the 90s, a Japanese band called Culture of the Deepers. Are you familiar with them?
No, I'm not. This is really why I need to have you on more often. I gotta save these. You said Culture of the Deeper? Is that what you said?
Yeah, coal tar. So like coal, like the like energy source. Tar, like tar, like TAR of the Deepers.
I found it. Okay.
Yeah, they're really fucking good. I highly recommend. If you're sort of into like a drony, sort of like grungy, shoegazy thing, that's what they're about. I've also been listening to this band Rainer Maria. If you're familiar with Rainer Maria, I think that's the correct name. Let me double check.
Found it. Yeah,
Rainer Maria, really fucking good. My favorite song of theirs. I'm just scrolling really quick. Where are they? Shit, where did you go? Broken Radio. That's a good song. That's probably like their easiest. Like that's like a good intro song to them. They're really good. That's not like shoegazy. They're sort of similar to like Rilo Kiley, if you're familiar with Rilo Kiley. Very similar, like adjacent band. And like the last band I've been listening to that I do want to shout out because I people got to find some more, I guess, I don't know, more of this music. I'm gonna try to get another Culture of the Deepers for you, just so it's another new
I'm here
band for
it.
you.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to Pot Valiant?
Pod Valiant. Is that what you said?
Pot Valiant, like
Valiant.
Like it's spelled Valiant.
All right.
Really good. Another is like sort of
Okay.
shoegazy emo. It's like an emo sort of band.
Jim,
It's
this is why
really
you should just take over this show. I need to like dive into music like this way more often. I'm already reading the description. This is so my bag with this kind of thing, and I would never found it. You know.
We'll fuck with. I
gotta go on whatever Reddit threads or whatever you go on. I gotta find these things, you know. Or actually just like look up things that aren't like the bleak state of the world every 5 seconds and doom scrolling, right? That's probably a good bet.
Yeah, no, like I feel like, and like I this is true to an extent. My jobs, all of them that I do, like my podcasts plus The Onion. I'm a very online person, but the only way I'm normal is by spending multiple hours on my free days if I'm not like doing something offline entirely. Like I'll just spend digging into just new music that I want to find. Music has genuinely been one of the 2 or 3 things that's kept me sane in the last 5 years or so. Yeah. Music is just it's one of those things where I if I don't listen to an hour of music every day, I'm probably gonna be shaking. I'm gonna be tweaking. Yeah. I'm gonna be oh, I gotta get my fucking hit. I need music.
I find that for myself too, because I have a 40-minute commute one way to my job, and so a lot of times unfortunately though I'll end up listening through the news and whatever podcasts I throw on, sometimes yours, sometimes others of just the bleakest shit going on in the world, and then other times it's all right, just throw on some fucking music. What are you doing? You can listen to this stuff and you can also listen to things that you find enjoyment out of. Not that I find a weird enjoyment out of that, mostly because I like hearing people's sort of cynical takes on the things, but the actual
It's cathartic. It's cathartic sometimes. Or sometimes you actually get a really unique perspective on something that's I didn't consider
and all of that's good, and I'm addicted to that, right? But sometimes it's you do need a little bit of separation sometimes just for your own sanity. Yeah. And that, I think, especially lately, more than anybody. So again, thanks for breaking down the music. That's kind of the music half of this. I have so many different things that I would want to talk with you about. So I'll try to boil it down to a few. I listed a bunch of things, but I'm going to just try to get to a few things. But first and foremost, if you don't mind me asking, the last couple of weeks have been pretty crazy for the entire, for the entirety of the United States, but definitely for people within the LGBTQIA plus community following, Charlie Kirk's murder and more, I would say more so the reaction, right? That day was a crazy filled experience, I think, for everyone in the United States on all sides of everything. It was just a surreal moment. But I think the reaction as more and more things are going on, and I saw detailed from your Twitter feed and what you've had to do in response to it. It's been exceptionally crazy with the reaction of the fodder of the right on this kind of stuff. So I guess what's your overall the last couple of weeks of, this is a general question, we can kind of jump off of it here. What's kind of been your feeling? Do you feel that things have, as bleak as they were getting up to this point, I think every week it felt darker and darker, and then it really felt like somebody just let's say a day after this, so what's September 11th?
We couldn't even enjoy September 11th in peace this year. We couldn't even enjoy it. The towers falling down.
Couldn't even do our member berries, right? Kind of what's been your reflection on that overall? How have you been, as a human, how have you been doing? Because I know things have been not so easy, and just kind of speak to that a little bit to kick things off on the much more bleaker note here.
Yeah, it has been, there was this insane reaction, and the right has been doing this for a while, where they will either lie about someone being involved in one of these incidents as being a trans person, or by whatever it might be. Specifically lately, they've been doing trans people. So they have been chomping at the bit for a queer person to blame on all of this for a while now. So that's not necessarily new, but it's happening to a degree where it's coming from the top of the government. Before, it was just like, okay, libs of TikTok, all of these like freaks, all these like fucking insane freaks online were the only ones really pushing for it. But now that Trump's in office, and they sort of are making it a very intentional part of their administration to sort of, at least they haven't necessarily done anything against trans people yet, but they are angling for it, and they're trying to do as much as they can to, I think, instill fear in us. Something that I think has been fairly clear for a while now is the reason why a lot of right-wingers react the way they do to trans people online is they think if they can erase all trans people, if they think if they can scare us into like hiding completely, that it'll stop the like what are they called? The social contagion of being trans or whatever.
Right.
Like, one of the reasons that Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he's essentially admitted this, is that he thought his daughter, Vivian, became trans because of the presence we have online. Because, I mean, let's be real. There's not that many trans people, but there are a fair few amount of very influential trans people online, especially Twitter, of course. Twitter, Instagram, like these different platforms do have like fairly large trans accounts, but there's not a lot of trans people in this country. But I think the right thinks, because we've been able to become so front-facingly visible and just unafraid of existing, that's part of why the, like, as they say, that the social contagion sort of has happened as it has. Which of course is like not necessarily true. I don't think there's like a social contagion in the way that they're saying. I think there can be. I don't think it's a bad thing though. I personally don't think that's like a bad thing at all. I think they would describe it in a lot more different of a way, and as it would be a bad thing. I don't necessarily accept their framing on that. But it's, so they have been, I guess all of this to say is they've been wanting to ramp up like psychological like warfare against trans people, queer people in general. I think on two fronts: trying to change the laws. Some states, have the bathroom bans. Some states have tried to go further, ban books on queer people, being like anything about gender in certain schools. But there is, from the top, essentially psychological warfare against trans people. And I'll be so real. There's like, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. But there have been some people that I know that have really taken a hit from this, like just scared. And thankfully, trans people have at least where I am and the type of people I surround myself with, we have a very tight network of people that people are still out there. People are still functioning. People are still like being together, talking, going out, doing things. There was a lot of trans people at that show last night, at the Anamanaguchi show that I was talking about. There was like, I saw, I mean, a bunch of people I knew, but like probably 30 to 40 trans people as a whole. So it's like, the thing is, they want to scare us into hiding. It won't work. Right. But I think that is like essentially what they're trying to do. Because I think they do know that they won't be able to legislate us away. That just is not going to happen. That will never happen. And they're stupid for thinking that.
Yeah, I mean, because first and foremost, everything I'm going to say here is going to be so elementary and so like duh to anyone that would probably already be listening to this. But it's this idea, like, I think I heard, the amount of times I've heard Trump say, like, first, now he says everything's transgender or whatever that means. But also that like this started in like 2016 or something. It's like, brother, have you ever picked up a fucking book? Like, have you ever read about like larger back history? Like we've always had an element of a transgender element within society. It's always gender fluidity has always been a thing through various different societies around time. And like, I'm not sitting here to talk about like a philosophy or like a history 101 thing, but I do mean like they keep trying to do this thing that's just like counterfactual to the human experience. It's not even just like talking about, oh, you don't know history. It's like, you literally don't know human beings. You know what I mean? This is, and like, yes, like you said with Elon Musk and his daughter Vivian, it's like these people want to act like this is some new thing. It's like, no, maybe some more people are more able now to be visible with how they with their experience and their gender dysphoria or different whatever different things that occur for them, and like are able to transition more because maybe they find a community where it's more socially acceptable. All these different things that we could talk about over and over again that are like just common knowledge if you like read. The
Yeah.
problem is people on the right don't fucking read because they don't want to, because they don't want to learn. And it's not really just a right wing thing. In general, people now just don't want to learn at all.
Yeah.
They want to read things in 180 characters. They want to just move on.
Which they're real for that. I do too. I love reading.
Sure,
I love
sure.
reading 120 characters only. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, my brain is also as squirrel brain as everybody else's in 2025. I'm not sitting here on my fucking high horse. But I mean, that's the constant battle I think they find themselves in. And they found it there over and over in different iterations of the evangelical right or the libertarian right, or these, now more and more like this sort of like online irony poison, brain poisoned, like younger right wing that we see more and more with like the Nick Fuentes types and stuff, of like just trying to create a false reality. And as long as you say it enough, it becomes reality, right? Like that's something I've been trying to tell people in my personal life over and over. Like I work in a conservative area. The best you can hope for it is like a vote blue no matter who liberal, like that that like you work with or something. You try to instill with people that just like, no, these people don't, it's not even hypocrisy, because label it as hypocrisy means they believe in something,
right,
and they're going against it. It's literally about just finding what ways they can galvanize people through hatred to gain whatever power they can possibly muster while doing incredibly unpopular things at the same time, right? And they found, and over the years, they found their scapegoat as being migrants, trans people. They want to say trans people, but they really mean the entire LGBTQIA plus community, like people that are kidding themselves if they think it's going to stop there, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, like now Palestinians, Muslims, as always, we're going back to like 2002 era, politics in that front. And it's just like, it's so maddening to me to be around this, like in my personal life all the time, and see it online, of just like people finding any reason to just like feel good about hatred when your own life is degrading economically. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's what's crazy to, and like maddening, but also not surprising to think about more and more as each day goes on.
Something I've been thinking a little bit about recently is how, because you're right, trans people are not new. We've been around, especially online, and for like the last decade, we've had like a fairly visible presence. But there is the real thing of, in the early bit of the COVID pandemic, a lot of, I like to call it the baby boom of trans people. There was a lot of people. Yeah, I love to call it the baby boom. I've been calling it that for a while. It's the second baby boom. And it's because it really was. It was a lot of people in the isolation of the pandemic were able to explore themselves a little bit more, felt maybe a little bit comfortable, because the real thing about transitioning is the early bit can be very tough. Right. But because there was that little bit of isolation, I think a lot of people reckoned with the idea that maybe they're trans. And so there was that baby boom. And I think that's why people on the right especially think there was like, oh, there's like something, there's a nefarious plot, when it's just like, well, no, just people were just using their brain, their noggin a little bit while we were like all isolated, and like realized something about themselves. But I guess what I'm saying with this is, since right-wingers, they're very reactionary. They see this increased amount of trans people, and they see an increased amount of trans people dunking on them in their replies on Twitter or wherever. And I think there's this like weird thing that I would have denied a while ago, like years ago. I would have been like, no, that's stupid. Like, surely there's no way. But that, I think a lot of people, specifically on the right, but we do see this in like the centrist world, and maybe some leftists, but primarily the right, where they get radicalized into more right-wing positions because they're getting dunked on by like people online, and they might see a trans flag more often than not, and they're like, there's a lot of trannies making fun of me here. What's going on? And they start to create like narratives in their mind. I think there is a faction of especially right-wingers right now, and we can sort of see this in the top levels of the Trump administration, where they let us know when they're mad about tweets. They quote tweet the tweets. JD Vance, Pete Hegseth, they get mad at people tweeting about them, which is so fucking funny. And I think that's just a perfect encapsulation of what like the modern right is it's going further than even the crying libs, the liberal tears. They have to like get the liberal tears. It's taking that to its logical conclusion, where that's quite literally the only thing almost all of these people care about. And that's why, I mean, I don't think that's why they're doing some of the things this administration is doing, but it is why they are making a show every day of rubbing everything in everyone's faces. I mean, just the other day there was the video, I forget posted by who, but someone posted the video in the White House where they rearranged the pictures of previous presidents on that like hallway, and they replaced Joe Biden, which I'm not the biggest Joe Biden fan, but they replaced him with a pen because of the whole auto pen thing. And it's like, brother,
the
I'm
level
like
of petty.
It's so petty. These are fucking bitch. They're bitches. They're just such fucking losers. Like, come on, grow up. These are 5-year-olds in the fucking. It feels so cliche to say like they're the babies. They're but they are like these people relish. They genuinely. All they really enjoy is rubbing everything they can in our faces, and it shows. It really does show that that's how this administration functions.
Well, I was gonna that was actually a point I was gonna get to over, because I know you talk about how the online world kind of steeps into the real world. Your podcast, Kill the Computer, I think is like really great on that, like the online brain poisoning that's also like filtering itself more and more every day into real life. Like I think a lot of us, including myself, say 2018, whatever, you'd go, there's online life and then there's real life, and like they don't really mix together, like one doesn't really affect the other or whatever.
For a while, it was mostly separate.
Yeah. But, I was listening to, there's a podcast I've been listening to a little bit here and there lately where I think I'm probably going to get his name wrong, but it's Joshua Citarella that does the Doom Scroll podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And he's kind of dipped his toes into things that you've been talking about for forever.
Yeah.
But he had on Hassan Piker the other day, and they both talked about how the online right has been attempting to like make being uncool and lame, like these like Facebook ass like boomer memes, these AI piss filter shit posted from official White House and government accounts, all to like own the libs, and it's all like as a badge. Like, did you see that? I think it's from DHS the other day, of like with Ash Ketchum with Gotta Catch 'Em All.
Yeah, they put the Pokemon theme song over it. Yeah. Over like immigrant raids. Yeah. Like despicable.
And they're doing these things, and it's like so I mean, if it wasn't so bleak and these people weren't the most powerful people on the planet, it would be laughably lame. Like, it would literally be like the person that goes on everyone's tweets and says the R word and has like 15 followers or whatever, right? No, and so it's like this weird thing of like them being like trying to lean into that being uncool is cool because you're owning the libs no matter what you do, even
because that's what's most important. That's what is most important. And let's be so honest, it's never been easier to be a loser online than ever. It's the best time to be a loser because you can have AI make literally any garbage you want with, as you said, that piss filter, and you can just throw that out, and it's like, oh, like I'll see a piss filter, like, I don't know, immigrant raid, and I'm like, wow, this sucks, and they're like triggered. And it's like, I'm just tired. Like, I don't know. It's never been easier to be a loser online. They have created every tool possible for that. They don't really moderate anything anymore. There's very few websites that actually have real moderation standards. So people can just, be high schoolers again, however, to their heart's content. But yeah, I feel like this age of like the moment we're in with like technology and the way that a lot of these tech billionaires are sort of consolidating a lot of social media, but even media in general, is sort of just like whittling away at everyone's sanity, and like mine included, of course, too. But everything is like coalescing in this like disgusting soup that online is real life. This is the most online administration I think I've been alive for a minute. I was very aware of the Obama administration. They were not very online.
No, to probably a faulting degree. Yeah.
But again, it was like early. It was 2012. Yeah. Like no one was really.
You mean Obama, right?
Obama, Obama. But Biden, you're right. It was their online presence, Biden's online presence. I think they really did think, oh, we can just be like a normal presidency. Like we'll just go back to how it used to be, and they thought that would work. Which sadly, it didn't. That didn't work. And we are in the most online administration of all time. And I feel like future people like Democrats or like leftists will sort of have to balance not being complete losers who respond to like 10 follower tweets on their government accounts and like what Zoran Mamdani is doing, because I think Zoran is like probably the best example of someone on the left sort of wielding social media to his favor to get a message out, to have a presence, create a narrative where previous Biden administration just was not able to. Let's be so real, that was the worst fucking administration, and he had the worst aides around him as possible. They were just dog shit. They were horrible.
Well, here's the thing though, June. Here's where you're wrong, because you keep saying it's Zoran, but have you considered tweeting in all caps exactly like Trump while hating homeless people? Have you considered being like Gavin Newsom though? I mean, he's trolling while not changing anything about his policies, and people loved it. I don't know if he's even. Here's the thing: is
he's
like
still doing it. Yeah.
Are people still? I don't.
He's still doing it.
You know, for someone that does a podcast on this stuff, I like look so little at things like that on Twitter. Like I literally like look up specific things to pull videos from to look at. You know, like I don't, because it's such a hellscape. And that's the thing, is like, that's been frustrating about that on the Zoran angle. And like, you know, every podcast has been talking about how he's been doing this right. Like I don't need to jump into this to the nth degree over and over, but he's been doing it well, like extremely well. But the difference is these people act like, you know, you'll look at Hakeem Jeffries, you'll look at Gavin Newsom, you look at all these different people talking about how they need to adopt his mechanics, but they don't want to adopt the policy, right?
Right. It's the policy first, the mechanics second. And they think it's the other way. They think it's mechanics first, message second. And it's just not.
Because, you know, something that's frustrating about that angle on the Democratic side is that it's true that for a broadly speaking, for the last several elections, people haven't really been voting on, quote, policy, right? It's been vibes, but that's because nobody's been providing anything for the last fucking 40 years. You know what I mean? That's why.
Someone like Zoran shows up and people are like, oh, wait, we can have like ambitions. We can maybe want to do something. Right. Like everyone forgets that politics isn't just about the performance. It's like at the end of the day actually about getting things people want done. But the thing Democrats are horrible at is they don't typically like fighting for or standing up for many of the things that the base really does, but the party doesn't like. And that's, of course, I mean, you and I both know this, that's like the ultimate stumbling block with people like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries right now. But can I say my hot take about?
Yeah, go for it.
So, you know, Gavin Newsom, do not like that dude. I think he's, you know, pretty not a great politician, but I actually do kind of enjoy his insane Trump tweets. I kind of
I'm not saying they're
whenever
enjoyable.
I see those, they're funny, and I'm like,
they are funny,
because the thing I actually do think he gets right with that. And it's something I've sort of been realizing, and it should have been more clear sooner to me, especially with Trump winning twice. But we have to, like, politicians need to hijack the social, like, not social media, but social media too, but the media. Trump, every single day I wake up and I'm like, I'm laying in my bed, I'm like, all right, what 3 horrors did Donald Trump already do? And it's 8 a.m. today. Like, what happened already? And, you know, I can open any social media, people are talking about different things, different posts, different whatever. Democrats, there's very few that know how to harness the media like he does. And I think Gavin Newsom, the thing that Gavin Newsom is doing right is he actually kind of cracked it. He cracked how to harness like the media and craft narratives and break out of the 10 people that might watch a Hakeem Jeffries Twitch stream or whatever, you know, like these people have cracked that. Like Gavin Newsom has cracked that. And of course, people like Zoran, like there are other examples of people doing this, but that's my take, is that Gavin Newsom, if you put his politics aside, he does understand what needs to be done to create an overwhelming narrative that the Democrats are incapable of doing usually.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all accurate. I wish it was literally anybody else.
I know, I do too.
That's my statement. You know, like I don't want this fucking vampire that's like done a photo shoot of him like destroying a homeless encampment.
I know,
being the guy that I find funny on the internet, right? Like I just, you know, but you're completely right. Like, but that goes to, you know, you can do the vibes, but if you don't have the policy, you're not going to. You might win in 2028. I'll be honest. Americans are fucking stupid.
I think if you bet your money, if you today bet money on who would win, you would have a solid chance if you bet money on him. That's just a fact. I think he'll be in the top 3 running for sure. I think that for sure he will be in the top 3 of the primary.
Yeah, yeah, it pains me to accept that, but I also don't like have somebody that I want to win it either. So at this point,
At this point, what I'll say is better than fucking Kamala Harris. Let's be so real. If it's
oh my
him
God.
or her, I know what my choice is. Dear God.
I didn't put this in like any of the things that I was planning on talking about, but like, did you watch or see any of the clips or see any of the interviews she's done on her book recently?
I have.
Like,
Just
oh
the
my
worst.
God.
Just the worst. She's
Like,
just the worst. She's just doing this to torture us at this point. She's going on in a news media tour to torture us. She just wants us to suffer. Like, I don't know what else she's doing this for.
my favorite thing on it was my favorite thing. Like, there was a lot of things, from her kind of getting called out of saying like she didn't think between her and a gay person and Pete Buttigieg that they could win an election. Which it's because you're both incredibly unpopular. That's why you wouldn't fucking win.
Yeah.
Let's be real. You both suck. That's why like Pete Buttigieg let like Ohio burn and then did nothing. Right? Like there's plenty of reasons. But that's beside the point. My favorite thing was that she like screamed at her staff because she had to like think on her feet in a podcast. Like she wasn't so vetted that she knew every answer down pat. It's like, you need to be able to talk. Like what like I couldn't believe that was like something she put in a book.
She doesn't see she this is how she's not a real one. She doesn't know the stress of going into a podcast and maybe making like if you do enough, you'll make a fool of yourself. You'll fumble. Oh, yeah. But she can't even just hang. What she needs to understand is she needs to be able to hang and like just talk. But the thing is with the like Democrats like Kamala is they need to always, I don't think they should, but they think they always need to be triangulating for the correct answer. And that is just not how the like modern podcast format works, which is sort of, as as a podcaster myself, it actually does suck that that's primarily the way that a lot of people get news these days, is they listen to these celebrity podcasts like Joe Rogan and all these people. That's how a specific segment of the population gets their news. They don't get it any other way. And I think people need, like, these politicians that are trying to beat people like Donald Trump, fascists like him, they're going to have to be able to just go on a fucking podcast and maybe just talk about them doing cocaine or something. Like, they have to be able to just be honest, they have to be able to talk about their lives and themselves and like what they believe in without having to be like, actually, but if I say this, I'll upset 3% of this vote. It's like, don't think like that. That's not how this should work. That's not how that works anymore, at least.
No, in doing that, you've lost like 40% of the people that you could get to vote for you.
Because what people
sound like a robot.
Yeah, because what people value a lot more, especially independents, a lot of people that aren't just always super loyal to any party, is people like authenticity more than anything else. People will always be like, why do they think there was a poll a couple of months ago that came out that was like, voters dislike Kamala Harris and they like Bernie Sanders. So it was basically a poll showing this crowd of polls liked Bernie Sanders more than Kamala Harris. The same poll showed that they thought Kamala Harris was more to the left than Bernie Sanders. People don't understand ideology. We have to like be very clear about that. People don't understand ideology at all. People don't have an understanding of actual political ideology and like principles in the way that people like you and I probably do. The average person is not tuned in enough to distinguish between like anarcho capitalism and like socialism. They would call that the same shit. They would probably describe them the same way. But the thing that people do understand is they think Bernie Sanders is more authentic than Kamala. And that's why they like people like Bernie more than they like Kamala. And for some reason, that also just makes them think that Kamala is more to the left. It's one of those things, the average American, incomprehensible. It's impossible to understand who or what they're thinking every single fucking second. I'm stupid. We're all stupid. But like what we like, it's about authenticity. I think that's like the most important thing. And Kamala just wasn't that. Sorry to break down the 2024 election right now. I don't know why we're doing that, but
no, we're not, because it's back in the zeitgeist because he's going around doing the fucking press tour, right, on this book that should have never
existed. It should have never been written.
To your point on incoherent politics, here's my great attempt at a segue.
Yeah,
I think there's something, to go back to kind of like the online brain rot of it all. We've had this recent, most recent high profile shooting that happened in Texas, this ICE detention center. And from the get-go, first of all, I love that we get live tweets from the FBI director on bullets, like within hours.
Look, they have to go viral. Don't you
Yeah,
understand?
yeah.
They have to go
Most
viral.
transparent. He's the most transparent person, so that means he's good. But like kind of clip and scene, like I had, I was gonna maybe try to but I'll maybe clip it in here, some of the things that he said on the Majority Report when
Yeah.
they interviewed him about this. But in general, he was, he interviewed this guy's family, his friends and people that knew him, and they just talked about that this kid was basically like, or young adult, I should say, it was like the most online brain poisoned edgelord irony like individual. And I just kind of think about how, the how both Trump, JD Vance, Kristi Noem, all these people instantly were able to run with it, that this is a left-wing ideologue. He wrote anti-ICE on the bullets, which it turns out he likely did that because he knew it would like throw people on these different trails, and all
Yeah.
this kind of different stuff, and all this other stuff. And it just kind of really shows how much people, whether in the case JD Vance, I never think he's saying anything genuine. He might understand all of this, but I think, broadly speaking, a lot of people in the country, especially older generations or even people our age that aren't that are maybe less tapped in, just don't understand the level of cynicism and nihilism
Yeah.
that people are being poisoned with. Like, what are your thoughts on, like, I think that's a tough thing to try to have the broad populace accept, is
It's
that there's this road that people go down,
I feel like it's a hard conversation, because I feel like it's a confluence of a lot of different things, all culminating in what's materializing with this very incomprehensible violence. But I think the way, so we did an episode of Kill the Computer on this, and we're going to do a part 2 specifically looking into the different organized groups that are sort of planting these seeds. But it's just the concept of cynical nihilistic violence, which is basically just what you described, where people don't, it's, there's been a lot of explicitly political violence in the past, and there still is, like, Proud Boys, all of these different things. But there has been, with the shit postification of everyone, and like as you mentioned, irony poisoning, people don't really have politics in the same way that like a lot of different violence used to manifest in. It's I think a product of just not really having hope for the future. I mean, how many people do you know, and I think to an extent, a little bit me included, where we think about climate change and it's like, well, we just we're not really doing anything on that one. And then you think about like rising cost of living, and it's like, well, I guess tariffs or whatever doing that, and inflation's rising. And then you think about like, oh, I won't have money to raise a family. And I think people are just thoroughly doomer pilled, I guess is a way to put it. And I think people, especially these days with the internet, and I think there's a lot of different reasons for this as well. I think it's due partially to the rise of the internet, and the internet replacing a lot of social connection with people, where people are just very lonely. Everyone is really lonely these days. I mean, that's it's just getting worse every year. There's a poll that tracks it year by year, asks different people, but it's a very consistent trend of over the last decade or 2 decades, people have far less real, like, close friends than they used to. So I think it's like a combination of loneliness, of like shit posting, which I do that, but I don't think that's like the only thing. I don't think being on 4chan was like the only thing that made this guy do that. I think it's a confluence of just like feeling hopeless. I think it's a lot of people feel fucking hopeless, and when you feel hopeless, what are you gonna do? Like you think your life is useless already. Why wouldn't you just? And I'm not saying do this. Let me be very clear. I'm not saying anyone should do this, because I don't think that's the case. I don't think things are hopeless. I don't think the world is unfixable. I think it is. I'm a very optimistic person. But in someone in a moment where they have no friends, they feel like they have no hope to maybe find love. They feel like they don't have community. They feel like they don't have economic success. It's not surprising when they see a 4chan meme and they're like, that would be funny if I wrote this on a bullet and did something with that. I think that's just sort of the moment we live in. I don't think the internet's necessarily causing this violence, but I think the internet is influencing the way that a lot of this violence is manifesting, because a lot of young people are just very online. People that are my age or younger grew up their entire life with internet. even with a phone in their hand as young as possible. So people are exposed to, all of this very young. It's a very different world. I haven't looked into any studies, but I do think the like boomer brain is built just a little differently than like younger people, just due to how internet pilled, with lack of a better word. But I think people are just different now, and it's just this, I think, hopelessness. I think it just comes back to people feeling hopeless.
Yeah, I think that combined, like you said, like I always like tread carefully on this stuff because you never want to end up sounding like a '90s, Republican about like the internet or video games or something, right? Like,
because that's what,
like again, like Ken Clemenstein pointed out, like this when we talk specifically about this person, I just try not to say the names because I don't ever like to prop these people up, but like,
right.
did like 6,000 hours on Rust in the alone, and like 4-digit hours on other games. His own friends like kind of said that he had gotten so edgelord and gotten so detached that they stopped talking to him. He like did a stand-up that bombed, that was like this extremely edgy rape joke filled stand-up that like I'm not gonna, I listened to a little bit of it because I'm a sicko, and I was like, yeah, this sounds like a deranged individual.
Yeah.
And you don't want to sound like the person that's like, oh, video games did this, or like violent, but it's not about that. It's like you said, it's people being detached. Like, there's plenty of people that play tons of video games that also have a social life.
That's why
connection.
That's why I wanted to be very clear. Yeah. I wanted to be very clear. I don't it wasn't like the 4chan. It wasn't like the internet. I think that's just like a tool that a lot of people that feel detached, feel lonely, feel hopeless for whatever reason are able to express they're very like ironically detached views. And I whomst among us has not posted like an insane joke that I'm like, oh, this is kind of a little crazy, like this is kind of a crazy joke that I just made. Because I don't know, I think that's just sort of how some of it manifests these days. I want to be very clear. I don't think internet is like what caused it. I think it was just like the I guess his worldview and just the brutality. I go back to this phrase sometimes too, but just like the brutality desensitization that we've sort of been in, where you open Twitter and see Charlie Kirk getting shot in the neck, and that's like the first thing you see when you
like first shot.
That's like the first thing. And like the average person these days is just probably like, like, all right, like I saw that last week, whatever. I saw some crazy shit a week ago. Like we're sort of desensitized, and violence is just normalized. I mean, the government is allowing Israel to genocide Palestine, and it's like they're not even blinking at that. Like we're all, whether we want to admit it or not, on some level, especially the people running this goddamn country, they're all desensitized, and they want to desensitize us. That is like, they think that violence, they don't think that's political violence. They think that is just the consequences of their ends, that some deaths are just whatever. Who's to say if that's bad or not? But I think that's just a consequence of the like very violent society that we live in.
It's kind of the crux of when people talk about political violence, and it's like, I'm against political violence. I'm also against state sanctioned political violence.
They don't consider ICE. They don't consider ICE throwing women on the ground violent, but that is violent. That's
the
explicitly
IDF like obliterating people to where you see videos of Palestinians literally scraping guts off of the side of a building, right? That was the bleakest thing for me when I saw that, because I saw that day, like the close up, whatever, and like I don't want to see that. I don't, regardless of I've being the anti-edgelord here, like I did not celebrate seeing that. Like that was not a good thing for me to see, right? Like, and yet, like, if I was honest with myself, it wasn't the worst thing I'd seen that week. I mean, that was sort of the bleakest thing about it. And I think about sometimes, because I think you and I are around the same age. Like you're in your 30s, right? And
I'm gonna be 30 in like a month and a half.
So I'm older. I'm older. So I'm a few years older than you. So sorry to say that.
You're good.
But when I was growing up, when 4chan first became a big thing, and there was like the B thread or whatever, and all these kind of things, I remember friends just like pulling up the most graphic, violent videos of like 3 guy 1 hammer and all these different things that they would bring up, and like somebody just like obliterate, like I don't want to keep talking about the, but I mean like this has been going on for a long time. Like what I mean is like this is a long-standing project of nihilistic dehumanization to real violence, and then we're getting to the point now where economic conditions are in conjunction with that, and it's like surprise, like horrible brain poisoned people do horrible things as a result of a deteriorating society,
and
right?
and what's the one thing that I feel like a lot of people do value, and I operate in these spaces, is social capital. They know, some of these people probably know, they can do a crazy act and the world will be talking about it the next 10 seconds after it happens. So there is like that like idea that some of them probably get in their head of, can get the world talking about what I did. And I don't know, maybe that's appealing in this way that they imagine. I don't know. It's such a tough, I think what the heart of this is it's such a tough conversation, and it's something that you can't easily solve. And I feel like people, especially of course the right, are trying to use this for specific political ends to try to crack down on trans people, to try to crack down on whatever their next target might be. And that's just, they're using it as an excuse, when it's actually like a genuinely very societally important question as to why this is happening and why people feel as hopeless as they do. And they want us to keep fighting the culture war. They want us to keep fighting these battles against each other that are not what's... If they are able to silence and eradicate every single trans person, which like the 100,000 of us that exist in this country or whatever the amount, I don't know the exact number. Well, if they successfully do that, they'll look around and they'll be like, wow, my life sucks shit still. Like there will not be a moment where any amount of like culture war victories will ever satisfy what they actually need, what will actually change like people's conditions, because they are using this instability and people's hopelessness as an ends to enact their own violence. And one day I hope people will realize that that's actually not what people need to create a strong society.
Yeah. Instead of like trying to rip down the quote other that's around you that has the same economic conditions that you do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's here's my segue again to the last thing I want to talk to you about. Maybe it's the billionaires and mega billionaires that are announced to be in the Epstein files, right? Like, and announced to be, and be a part of like rampant like sex trafficking rings while they oppress you and take your fucking labor.
Elon Musk.
He was in it. He was on it. Your take on this. This is the last thing I'll bring up with you. I had so many things like, but this is the last thing I'll bring. I appreciate your time, June.
Of course.
Doing this with me. What was your reaction to this? Because my first thing when I saw this was like sort of duh, because there's that connection with his brother and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
But also, it was incredibly hilarious that the guy who like went on like a ketamine dump out about like Trump's in the Epstein files and all this kind of stuff ends up being in them himself.
I bet you he posted that because he deleted that post where he's in there. I bet you someone came to him and they were like, "Hey, you are too," and he was like, "Fuck!" Like he was like, "Fuck me! I have to." Like,
nobody knew about that.
Yeah, and like he's backing away from making the America Party, so they're probably like, "Don't worry, if you don't make the America Party, like, and if you like still fund us, we'll cover you. We'll make sure you don't go to prison for the Epstein file shit." But no, I was not. Again, I wasn't super surprised by that. No. I mean, I always thought that like him of all people, especially. Like it was just sort of obvious that he probably, especially because the photos, he has been in photos with Ghislaine Maxwell. He loves to say that she was photobombed, which come on, you're not fooling. You're not fooling.
Right next to her taking a photo.
Come on, especially because you were right. His brother met, I think, someone that he briefly dated through Jeffrey Epstein. Like there was an obvious connection, which is like, okay, that's
Epstein,
which is like, okay, that's like two more connections than you should have that with someone. Like you shouldn't have either of those connections, even if one of them was like a what do you call it? Like a accidental photo. Even if that was accidental, that's like why were you next to her? Like why were you at the same event? That's a little odd to me. But again, it's like this thing also where it's like all these fucking rich people, and I hope one day we get like the full declassified Epstein files to like fully understand, because they had connections to like everyone. I mean, Donald Trump too had the letter, that insane letter, and the drawing. My God, with that was released a couple of weeks ago from the Epstein estate, and
so disturbing and pathetic.
I can't believe that the president, like, this is like, there's probably been other pedophile presidents, but this is like
well, we know
fully,
there's one for sure.
Yeah, we do. But like, if it's just to like sit down and fully internalize, oh yeah, we just like there is a pedophile president right now. Like, that's just like who's doing all of this, and like millions of people still stand by him, and it's like, all right, that's a little bleak. But yeah, I'm not surprised, and I really want the full Epstein files. I just want them released. I saw a Democrat make a statement that was like, yeah, a lot of people, they were trying to like play it down a little bit. They were like, oh, a lot of people, even people on our side will be in these files. And it's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
like, just release them. I don't care. I don't care. Just show me.
To quote Nancy Pelosi's daughter years back, some of our besties.
Some of our faves.
Yeah, some of our faves. Some of our faves.
Our faves
will be in there, and it's like, that's fine, man. Like, first of all, they're not.
She means her dad.
Faves.
She means. Oh, no, Pelosi. I was thinking Clinton. Clinton's.
Oh yeah.
She was thinking. Yeah.
Like Chelsea Clinton had Ghislaine Maxwell at her wedding. You know what I mean? It's like, and now she's potentially running for Congress.
God help us all. God help us all.
We're all gonna die. Yeah. It was good to see that Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, who's currently on a tour talking about the Antichrist everywhere, and Steve Bannon were all listed in this.
Yeah.
And it's like, wasn't Steve Bannon railing about Elon Musk and this shit for years? Like,
what the craziest shit is? I saw this clip from Joe Rogan recently. I forget exactly what I was watching. I was watching someone on YouTube.
First of all.
I was watching someone on YouTube talk about Peter Thiel, and they unearthed a clip from like 2018 or like fairly recent maybe, where Peter Thiel went on Joe Rogan, and Peter Thiel was like, yeah, I knew Jeffrey Epstein, like, I have connections to him, and Joe Rogan was like, oh yeah, like Joe Rogan specifically was like, yeah, before he was arrested, right? And Peter Thiel was like, no, I like hung out with him after he was arrested and was like a known pedophile. And it's like, what do you mean? Why would you like admit that you actively still hung out with him after he was a convicted pedophile? Like, this is crazy.
Is one of the most influential people in the world talking to this stoner idiot about how it's like, I hung out with a convicted pedophile for years.
Yeah, you know who I think it is? This is if you want to actually watch a really good channel, I'm going to do my best to try to remember on the spot here, but it's like Elephant Graveyard.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one. I haven't checked it out, but I've heard them reference on other things.
He has made like 3 or 4 good videos specifically about the comedy world that like not Alex Jones, that Joe Rogan has created. And just like that whole scene, he's done a lot of really good like dives into like the soft power that these tech bros have sort of like launched through these networks of like podcasters. It's like a very intentional like psyop. Yeah, definitely check it out. There was one that was put out a month ago called How Comedy Was Destroyed by an Anti-Reality Doomsday Cult. Really good. It sounds a little inflammatory of a title, but it's a really good video. Really good.
It gets the clicks though, so I get it. I understand. I have to get better at that myself. I have to be willing to steep into the cringe for the views, so I understand.
So before you watch that one though, watch the How Comedy Became a Dystopian Imperial Hell World. That sets up the next one, I think.
All sounds extremely positive, so I'm super into it because it's stuff that I've thought about for quite a while myself on all that kind of trajectory of how comedy is like not even comedy anymore.
It's not
for the vast majority of people. It's just podcasts where people yell about how they're being oppressed for not being able to say the R word or something. But even though they do. But June, thanks so much for going over this. Love the music part. It was cathartic to talk about the rest of the hellhole.
See, I love both bits. I love this shit. As much as I say I don't,
I do too. I
love
both bits. And I appreciate having you on because you're able to articulate these things so well as someone that talks about this stuff so constantly and like breaks it down so well in different facets. So go ahead. Why don't you first and foremost give a plug? Because I know you're more promoting the podcast these days over your social media. So plug what's going on with your podcasts and what people can check out there. And then I always play a song at the end. I don't always with like non-musical guests, quote unquote, but you're so tapped in. I want you to pick a song. So we're still going to play and promote a song at the end of this. So yeah, plug what's going on with your shows, what they're about, and then pick a song to play at the end.
For sure. So I do 2 podcasts. I do Kill the Computer, which I mentioned earlier, which is a podcast about how the internet has sort of steeped into, and I gotta get better at pitches. I'm really bad at pitching. Basically, it's about how the internet influences politics as we know it today. They're sort of seeping into every facet of our lives, and we're in the most online presidential term of all times. There's just a lot that we go over with that. We talk about, of course, the nihilistic violence, like I mentioned before, about how that's sort of manifesting in this world. We recently just talked about just the state of the media and how Trump is oppressing free speech online and trying to go after using the might of his administration to like sue people out of existence. All these billionaires are buying different media companies like CBS, Paramount, all these things. So we talk about a lot of stuff like that, just internet and politics. And then my other show I do is Ill Conceived. It's a podcast about natalism. It's me and Josh Borman. He hosts The Worst of All Possible Worlds as well. We basically, every episode, we tackle a new topic or person or group of like right-wing activists, I guess you could say, and how that influences like the culture that we live in now and the politics, and how that relates to like the goal of right-wing natalism, which is to basically just increase the birth rate at whatever cost necessary. So I do both of those shows. I have so much fun with both of them. Please, check those out. And also I work for The Onion, so support The Onion. We're about to put out a really great documentary, the mockumentary about Jeffrey Epstein, that's going to be coming out. There's actually some theatrical release out there. There's some theaters locally that will be actually across the United States. I think they're almost all sold out already, so that might be a little difficult if you're trying to find a ticket for those. But there will be a way to watch that eventually. So support The Onion. And thank you. Thanks for having me on. And the song, it's this band called What Is Your Name? If you want to play the song Heartache Street, so ST, like street.
So the band is What Is Your Name? I'm gonna follow this, and the song is Heartache Street. Okay, I'm just saving it now so I don't forget later. Okay,
yeah.
June, thanks so much for your time. This was fantastic, and I hope to have you on again soon to break down how great the world's going next time.
Yeah, no, I would love to come on again in like a month or so. Especially, I don't know what's going to be, the news is going to be at that time, but I just want to talk about music. I fucking love music.
Yeah, we can do a bigger stint on music. Yeah, I guess we did this time, but like, it's I love your interest in music and like how great you are with everything on that, and it's really fun to talk to you about that stuff.
Yeah.
And then as someone that listens to some of your content, I'm like, I just gotta pick your brain on the hellscape we live in as well.
No,
so I'm sorry about that.
No, do not apologize. All of the things we talked about, this podcast is prime for all of my interests. Like this is exactly all of my interests in one podcast. So
maybe we'll go like 60-40 next time on the music, and then the rest can be the hellscape, right?
Wonderful.
That'll be a good way to go.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we're gonna play Heartache Street from What Is Your Name, recommended by June on the Powerless Podcast. Thanks so much for your time.